You know, I guess nobody's perfect, not even Graham Mertz. Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football, on a Friday night, week 1 in the Big Ten. Week 8 for everybody else, week 1 in the Big Ten. We invite you to join the live chat. I'm grateful to see, and it makes me very happy to see all the people already in the live chat. You guys were rearing and ready to go. I originally thought this was a 9 o'clock Eastern time start for some reason, so I set the original schedule for a midnight live stream, but here we are with an 8 o'clock start, and as expected by me and some others, as I noted to one of our callers last night, did not expect much of a game, and Wisconsin is running away right now, having just notched another field goal, 45-7 over Lovie Smith's Illinois Illini, who I predicted to go 2-7. I had Wisconsin at 6-2 entering the Big Ten championship game, and another win for the Badgers here as they just ran a graphic on the Big Ten Network that Paul Chryst, in his first 5 seasons at Wisconsin, has notched 52 wins. That's the 4th best mark in Big Ten history for any coach in his first 5 seasons. Of course, they're playing more games these days, so that has to be taken into consideration. Not the 4th best winning percentage, but still, Paul Chryst doing a heck of a job there at Wisconsin. 45-7. I again had mentioned last night that certainly take Wisconsin to cover the 20 points, and you should be in good shape. Illinois has only scored, we talked about this again last night, Illinois only scored because one of their defense backs made a great hit on the ball. It was a throw over the middle by Graham Mertz, one of his 20 completions in 21 attempts, 20 of 21. So one of his completions across the middle with Wisconsin leading 14-0 was jarred loose by a nice hit on the ball by the Illinois DB. And then there was a scrum in the middle, and nobody realized that the ball had not been downed. The whistle had yet to blow, and somebody just picked up the football and ran it all the way for an Illinois touchdown. That is the only way the Illini have scored tonight. They have been that inept on offense. Brandon Peters is 8 for 19 for 87 yards. They have thrown just 8 completions and 22 attempts as a team for 87 yards and a pick. Illinois has rushed for, get this, actually 5.5 yards per carry. So I don't know what's going on there, where the Illini have rushed for 5.5 yards per carry. I got to say, I caught up to this game during the first drive, right when Wisconsin scored the first touchdown of the game. And then I had a number of issues with YouTube concerning just ability to link accounts and do some of the things we have to do from a business standpoint, which really tied me down for the last couple hours. So I've got the game on all night, but I really couldn't hone in on it other than seeing Graham Mertz be perfect. So also credit the Wisconsin receivers, because as we talk about, i.e. Miami in particular, but talk about across college football, too many dropped passes. And when the quarterback goes 20 for 21, it tells us a lot of things. Great protection. Obviously, he's on the money. The DBs are not making plays on the ball, but the receivers are catching the football each and every time. And so we got 20 seconds left at Camp Randall, and the Badgers lead 45-7. If Chuck C is in the live chat, I would like to apologize to Chuck. We did a live stream. This was earlier today on the Miami channel, and Chuck C had a super chat contribution that I failed to get to and was tied up with a number of other topics. Did not get to Chuck C's super chat contribution, and so I appreciate that so much, as I do with Byrick. WTF, first Big Ten game on BTN, so only 40% can watch. First Big Ten game on BTN, so only 40% can watch, meaning that only 40% of the nation gets the Big Ten Network. You're probably close. There are just about 115 million subscribers, or there's about 115 million households in America. Therefore, I would guess, 45 million to 50 million get the Big Ten Network. I would think it's higher than that. I know that the SEC opened around 90 million subscribers. and the ACC is probably about half that. I would think that the Big Ten Network would have more than 45 million subscribers, but I get the point. You can't see the game. But this is typical of the Big Ten Network, and it's their rights, it's their conference, that they're going to, number one, highlight the season with an opener on their network on a Thursday or Friday night. They've done that every year, pretty much across the board. I know that there was a Northwestern Purdue game on ESPN to open the season a few years ago, but besides that, BTN has featured the likes of Wisconsin, Michigan State, Indiana in particular on Thursdays and Friday nights to open the season. Also, as we know, most of the major games affiliated with the Big Ten go to Fox, and they also go to ESPN and ABC, the two major contracts. But the Big Ten Network reserves the right to pull back just a couple good games, this not being one of them, by the way. Not the Illinois-Wisconsin game, but other big games, not many. I don't know exactly what the stipulation is. It's only a couple games per year where you will see, wow, that game's on the Big Ten Network. It'll be like a decent Michigan State-Wisconsin game or Nebraska and Iowa game, and it'll be on the Big Ten Network. Something of that tier, and it's a bit surprising, but they want to protect their brand. So basically, they're going to make the money sending the big games and the major teams to ABC, ESPN, and Fox, but they want to maintain the value of their network to a small degree in regards to keeping some decent games. All right, Byrick again, we appreciate it. Sorry you could not watch the Wisconsin bludgeoning of Illinois 45-7, in which the Wisconsin defense pitched a shutout. Graham Mertz, 20 of 21 for 248 yards and 5 touchdowns. That's the debut for Graham Mertz in Wisconsin. So when we had a caller call in last night and say, well, the Wisconsin running back's going on, of course, Jonathan Taylor to Indianapolis in the NFL, and Jack Cohn is hurt, I said, never fear. The Wisconsin football team is in gear with the offensive line and the running backs. And Garrett Groshek gained most of the yardage, I believe. Yes, 13 carries for 70 yards. A lot of different running backs. We will not see the one Wisconsin running back this year with a huge 1,500 to 2,000 yard season. That player does not exist this year. Running back by committee at Wisconsin. Garrett Groshek, 13 for 70 tonight with a long of 13 yards. You've got Isaac Guindendo with 11 carries for 36 yards. Guerrendo, my apologies. I remember seeing his name a number of times in my preseason readings. You've got Nakia Watson, who's a prized recruit. He actually carried the ball the most for Wisconsin, 19 carries for 62 yards. Not a stellar or typical Wisconsin effort on the ground. 54 carries, 182 yards, 3.4 per carry. But certainly enough to beat Illinois 45-7. So let's get through it right now. And I see some folks in the live chat that I've never seen before, which makes me feel good, good, good. Kyle, great to see you. It's duly noted. Kyle is first, number one. Buckets for life. Watching the Illinois-Wisconsin game. There you go. 28-7, balloon to 45-7. Kyle, roses are red. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Hey, 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 hey. Okay. Do I have to? Okay. Host, analyst, graphics guy, producer, operations technician, lighting, etc., etc., etc. Also keeper of the live chat to a certain degree. Well, to the nth degree, now that I've got moderators, some of that has been taken off me. Fortunately, we've got let me see if I can name our moderators. We've got Melissa May, Cheryl, NCIS Fanatic 21, Trevor, Judge Juno, Lord, are all moderators, but I don't see any of them in the live chat right now, or we would have flagged that one. Kyle, we would have flagged that one. No politics. Okay, I was just having a discussion with another YouTuber tonight that I collaborate with on a regular basis. Okay, understand I'm doing this full time all the time and need to make money, serious money soon. Okay, we're going to get to college football in just a second. I don't want to talk about this, but I have to since that was brought up. I was checking out some of my videos tonight and the revenue was compromised. I mean, seriously, like 80, 90% compromised on a few videos, on not a few videos, on dozens of videos, because certain words are caught, whether they be out of somebody's mouth that's speaking, whether that be a caller or a guest, certainly not myself because I know what I'm saying, or are picked up in the live chat. And then YouTube does this to the revenue. A video that might have made $20 is going to make 82 cents because they have compromised the revenue because they have picked up on certain words, whether those are profanity or they are of a controversial nature. Believe what you will or have whatever stance you will. I do as well. I would like to see there be more free speech in this country. I think too much is dominated by large companies. However, I'm here to talk college football with you and make money. I am doing this for a living, period. And yes, would I love to be rich someday? Absolutely. Is that the goal? No. It's to earn a living, and it's to talk college football with you. And so if we can't make that happen, then I'll be off doing something else. But as it stands right now, that's the goal, that's the mission, that's the purpose, and therefore I need your cooperation, or else the revenue goes to, the revenue is not large enough now. It's only about 10% of what I made at the previous job. So need your cooperation. Okay, I'm done with that. We're talking college football. Anything involving tonight's game, Illinois and Wisconsin, which I think it needs to be noted. Number one, Graham Mertz is a monster, but it was the Illinois defense, losing all four of its defensive line from a marginal to pitiful defense last year anyway. The running back situation is not going to have the star power of James White, Monte Ball, Jonathan Taylor, go on down the line. They're going to be running back by committee. They weren't necessarily that effective in this game, but Illinois, I'm certain, loaded the box, came after Wisconsin's running game and thought we're going to have Graham Mertz try to beat us, which he did. Number three, Wisconsin's something in the range of 14 of their top 15 tacklers are back on this defense, and Wisconsin always ranks in the top 10 in the nation in defense. Whether you believe in the rankings, whether you believe in Wisconsin talent against the likes of Alabama, Clemson, Ohio State, and others out there, no, they don't have the recruits to stand up to that type of level of athleticism and speed. But the system sounds so well, and I'm trying to think of, I'm blanking out on their defensive coordinator who played safety at Wisconsin, played in the NFL with the Jets. Can't come up with his name right this second, but I've watched him play a million games. And again, he was a safety with the Jets in the NFL. Now he's done a tremendous job as Wisconsin defensive coordinator after others have moved on, including Dave Aranda. And Wisconsin, again, has a stellar defense that pitched a shutout tonight. It will not go in the books as a shutout, but it was a shutout by the defense as the Illinois defense scored against the Wisconsin offense. Thank you so much, Buckets for Life. Thank you for jumping on that early. Did I watch the debate? Yes. Do I care about the debate? Yes, to a certain extent. Do I care about this country? Absolutely. I love this country. Do I have definite opinions and so forth? Yes, but they are not for here. Okay. Bo, South Florida's terrible. They were down like 42-13 last I saw. I watched about 4 or 5 plays of that game. I was out with my daughter tonight for dinner, came home, in time to see the Wisconsin-Illinois game, and then I ran into YouTube issues that I was online for most of that time. Buckets for life. Go green, go white. Michigan State Rutgers at noon tomorrow. And to the dismay of some in the chat, that will be a Big Ten Network game. Good to see Phil. Norvell going to win us a championship eventually. I don't know what prompted you to say that tonight, Phil. You've got Louisville tomorrow. Win the next one. Coming off a monumental win, which could be an aberration, or it could be a monumental win for Mike Norvell's ascension at Florida State and the rebound of the program back to respectability first before we can get to elite respectability for Florida State. Beat Louisville on the road. I have yet to make my predictions, and I apologize to everyone on Patreon, but you guys need to join us on Patreon. It's a must. You get the insider look. You get my predictions. You get betting tips and advice from odds makers and handicappers, not myself. I just do it for fun. I'm pretty good at picking games. I'm now, with this Wisconsin game, 40-29 against the spread this year, which is nothing great for me, but it will certainly make you money. Buckets for life. I have Indiana upsetting number 8 Penn State. I think it will be a close game. Penix versus Clifford. Penix will throw for 566 yards and Clifford 677 yards in total. Penix will throw for 566, 677 total. So does that mean Clifford throws for 111? Or he throws for 677. We're going to see a historic game. Buckets for Life has already given us the prediction here, and also given us the foreshadowing that we all need to be tuned in to the Penn State-Indiana game. I believe it's a 3:30 Eastern game from Bloomington tomorrow, because this is historic. This is an all-time record. Penix and Clifford through the air, Indiana, Penn State. Nate's not late. I wasn't late. Kyle, thank you. Save the political talk, but thank you so much for encouraging everyone to smash the like button, people. And I know that many of you comment from time to time that it's difficult, depending on whether you're on your laptop or on your phone, to get to the like button. Do whatever you need to do to get to the like button. Somebody suggested to me last night that everybody should go to the like button before they ever watch the video. Just go there. Doom. You know what you're going to get from me, whether you like it or dislike it. So if you really like it, hit the like button. If you dislike it, and know you will, think that Rogers guy, I hate everything he has to say, then hit the dislike button. Shout out to everyone who was in Pete's stream. So we had Pigskin Pete apparently with a bit of a live chat tonight. Of course, everyone needs to know and be aware that every Monday at noon Eastern time, I'm on Pigskin Pete's channel for college football coast to coast. We have a big time reviewing the weekend and previewing the next weekend. So hopefully you guys can join in the fun with myself and Pigskin Pete every Monday at noon Eastern time for college football coast to coast. Good call there, Jordan. How exactly did Jack Cohn beat out Graham Mertz last year? Well, guys do develop, number one. Number two, we just saw Graham Mertz against Illinois. And I didn't see him throw all 21 of those passes, but I saw just about every one of them. And he was in a clean pocket almost all the time. Jack Cohn and Wisconsin have certainly performed fairly well in getting to Big Ten championship games, but against the likes of Iowa and Minnesota in particular in their division, and some teams out of the East, I guarantee you that Jack Cohn never saw a pocket consistently every time he dropped back to pass like Graham Mertz did tonight. B. Gav says Lovie Smith's defense was embarrassed tonight. NFL experience did his D. No favors tonight. Many of you are in the 20s and 30s in regards to your age. My demographics say that the two most highly populated demographics here on Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football, are 25 to 34 and 34 to 45. So many of you don't remember Illinois being decent at football. It's been a long time. I know that they went to a bowl game last year, and I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about truly being decent, good, top 25 good, a couple times top 10 to 15 good. In the 80s, a couple times in the 90s. Their last good season, and this was a lot of smoke and mirrors as well, was under Juice Williams and company in 2007 when they went to the Rose Bowl and got annihilated by USC. And we're nowhere close to being the best team in the Big Ten, but because Ohio State went to the BCS championship game and because of tiebreakers and the way things worked out, Illinois went out to the Rose Bowl to be this sacrificial lamb. Okay, Illinois football has proven to be good in the past. I don't know if there's a change in the commitment to football at the high levels, at the highest of levels at the University of Illinois, because otherwise it would point to me that Lovie Smith is doing a poor job. If he is being given anything close to the resources that the coaches prior to him, maybe prior to 2000, Ron Zook, and before, then he's just not doing the job. But look at the stadium. It's a mess. It's not a good stadium. Of course, they're in basically a suburb of an NFL town. It's never been a good situation in regards to competing for fan interest at Illinois. So it's a tough job. But they're in a winnable division, and Illinois football has certainly been much better in the past. Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football, who's on the line?
The man that gives college football its voice. How you doing, Mark Rogers?
David, how are you?
Excellent, excellent. Just got done watching this game. Did you see much of it, or did you just catch a half, or how much of the game did you get a chance to see?
I was explaining a few minutes ago that I caught it from the beginning, from the first drive of the game, but then we had some issues with YouTube, and I had to go through all the support team and make sure that we could actually broadcast tonight, and had all sorts of issues that I don't think you guys are aware of most of the time. That takes up a lot of time in moments like these. So I couldn't really focus on the game, but I had it up there long enough to see Graham Mertz was tearing them to shreds, and Illinois couldn't move the ball. And so I didn't miss much. I can see that.
Well, I got to say that he looked about as good as the Wisconsin quarterback has looked. You know, I mean, he's definitely an upgrade over Jack Cohn. I mean, he completed about like a 15, 20-yard deep out that was a pretty nice throw. I think it was in the third quarter. And I don't even know if Cohn could have made that throw. He completed it. So he's got some arm talent, you know. I thought Cohn was limited last year. I don't know what your thoughts on him were. But he looks like he could definitely be an upgrade of what they had a year ago.
Yeah, so, the arm talent's definitely there. I saw him make a number of passes. Both the pass that you're talking about is really one of the few passes that you look for in looking for that next level arm ability. A lot of people look to that stand in the pocket straight up and deliver it downfield about 45 or 50 yards down, you know, to the goal post, right down on a post pattern. And that's certainly, you're looking for that as well. But it's those long outs that are difficult to throw, of course. Yeah, he certainly can zip the ball. He was on the money. He throws a clean pass too. So there's a lot of kids playing college football quarterback that are really good quarterbacks, but they don't throw a clean ball most of the time. And his spiral is tight, gets a lot of rotations on the ball. And I was very impressed with him. He was standing in a very clean pocket almost every time he dropped back, though.
Yeah, and I know it's going to be tough just with Illinois, just for the simple fact that, and obviously I know Illinois upset him a year ago. I was thinking a year ago, it was kind of a fluky game where I think Wisconsin just pretty much gave the ball, but gave the game to him with some turnovers and kind of blew the football game, if you ask me. And, you know, I thought tonight, you know, Wisconsin just took care of business. Looks looked good. You know, I don't know if you saw, I posed that question on your live stream. Well, you had the, you know, we're doing the questions earlier in the day. And who the second best quarterback in the Big Ten was. Especially who the second best quarterback in the Big Ten, and then the second best quarterback in the ACC was. Now, I feel Sam Howell's probably the second best quarterback in the ACC. Can you agree with that?
I do. I do, definitely.
Okay. Now, who did you say you thought was the second best quarterback in the Big Ten?
I didn't see that question in the live chat. Well, we've got Tanner Morgan. We've got Sean Clifford. Well, we've got Graham Mertz now. We've got one sample of a starting assignment. He's played a little bit here and there. Peyton Ramsey's a pretty good quarterback, but I don't think he's at that level. Second best quarterback in the Big Ten. Anybody else under consideration? We'll have to see about Joe Milton, of course. And I'm going to go with I'm not a big Adrian Martinez fan in regards to that level of ranking. I'm pretty comfortable with saying that I'm pretty comfortable with Tanner Morgan being the second best quarterback in the Big Ten right now. Yes.
Well, you know, I think Penix could be very good at it. I don't know.
Yeah.
Michael Penix.
True.
So, you know, I like what I saw the first tonight. By the way, I saw your final on the Big Ten predictions there, Mark. Looked like, I mean, no surprise to pick the Buckeyes. By the way, you picked Michigan State to go 4-4. I think that would be a really good year if they went 4-4, by the way. I think it's an uphill climb for Mel Tucker up there. I think that's almost like, I won't say it's a complete rebuild, but Mark Antonio did not keep that program in great shape. I wouldn't be surprised if they only won 2 games this year.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I don't think there's any question that I'm in the same boat when it comes to Michigan State football going forward. I think we've seen the zenith of Michigan State football under the first half of Mark Antonio's tenure. He got a lot of people to think that Michigan State was some kind of elite program. And if you go back through the ages, it's not been. It's a 55% winning percentage forever and ever and ever, with a couple aberrations like 1987 and 1999. But otherwise, yeah, a lot of 6-5, 7-5 type teams. And D'Antonio just was tremendous for the first half of his tenure. But in that division, with the lack of big-time recruits in their backyard, yeah, I think that's an uphill climb. And I got to say, David, when I did my predictions and I looked at their schedule, I went into it thinking I'm trying to think of my original 12-game prediction for Michigan State. I think it was 4-8. Well, they definitely had some winnable non-conference games. I'm trying to think. They had Miami out of conference, but besides that, you know, they had the 2 almost gimme wins against whomever out of the MAC. I'm trying to think what I had. I think I had 2-7 in the Big Ten, so I had 4-8. And then once I looked at this revised schedule, it just kind of played out the way I looked at it. And I tend to group games. I don't tend to necessarily. I know a lot of people like those prediction videos where you go through every game and you're sitting there in July predicting games in November. I tend to group games together, especially in conferences like the ACC, where there's like 8 teams that are almost the same team. And I just kind of group them together and say, you know, out of those 7 games, they should win 4 of those, and just kind of build it out like that. And I just, I came up with 4-4, and then a loss in the extra game to go 4-5.
Yeah, you know what I think with Michigan State, Mark, other than ruining my Buckeyes life in 98-15, of course, 2 of the worst losses like ever. But you know, with Sparty, I think they caught a period of time, in 2010 to 2015, I don't know what you think, where the Big Ten was down a little bit. I think it particularly caught Penn State and maybe, the team up north down a little bit before they, improved. And, he had two really good college quarterbacks at the time, in Cousins and Connor Cook. And, I think kind of took advantage of that time frame. And then once those programs kind of came up a little bit, I think it became that much tougher for him to compete on that level. Was that kind of your thoughts on the D'Antonio era and maybe why it declined a little bit? I know that a lot of people trace it back to the 2016 recruiting class that was really, blew up on him. But I also thought, he caught a period of time maybe when the conference was down a little bit as well. I don't know what your thoughts.
Well, I think that's certainly a fair assessment that you just made, because Penn State football up until the scandal was certainly not at its height, but it was a force to be reckoned with, and a top 15 program in the country. Just check out, the Rose Bowl trip in 2008 and another pretty major bowl win in 2009, beating LSU in a Capital One Bowl. And, Penn State was in a good place prior to that. And then, like you say, Michigan State ascended right at the time, generally, of the scandal, maybe a year or two earlier than that. But they benefited from that. They had their first big year in 2010 when they went to the Big Ten championship game, meaning Michigan State. And to your point as well, for Michigan, of course, from 2008 until Harbaugh stepped on the field, and even with all his detractors, he did win 10 games his first year in 2015. So between 2008 and through 14, that's a pretty large chunk of time. That's 7 seasons. Michigan was awful all those years, except for 2011. They won the Sugar Bowl under Brady Hoke, went 11-2, but that was a bit of a smoke and mirrors deal. But so Michigan football was down for 7 or 8 years. So that's certainly 2 typical losses on Michigan State's schedule were wins during that time. I would love to add up the actual numbers. I'm sure D'Antonio's winning percentage against those 2 schools during that time was probably 80+%. Certainly beat Michigan every year for quite a while. So yeah, I think that's fair.
Yeah, I thought it was that team with that 13 team that beat the Buckeyes in the championship game and beat Stanford in the Rose Bowl. That was a good team. I will give that to him. I think that was easily his best team, and kind of declined after that. I saw that you picked Wisconsin to win the West. I want to see that Minnesota. By the way, I saw you on Dace earlier this week talking about he doesn't like his chances of going up to Minnesota and getting a win, from what I heard. But that could be an interesting game for both programs. I think that's definitely the game of the day in the Big Ten. I don't know what your thoughts are.
Well, it's the game of the week for me. I want to see that game above any other game. I think it's interesting that Michigan is better in just about every unit on the field that I can think of. But there's a huge quarterback question at Michigan versus just this rock of stability for Minnesota. And they're playing at home, which I know doesn't mean quite as much. But it's just a dichotomy of, if you want to look at the nuts and bolts of the personnel, then I think Michigan has a decided advantage. When I say decided, I don't mean overwhelming. I mean a decided advantage. They should be a touchdown favorite. But when you factor in the intangibles and the vibe around it, there's a feel good to Minnesota and all that they're building and developing, and you should feel good about their program, versus Michigan's just stuck in this 9-3 purgatory that just doesn't give it a good feel. And I'm usually not the guy to frame things like that. I'm usually looking at the personnel and the talent on the field, the coaching ability, and adding it up that way, and not going to narratives about vibes and feel. But Michigan, it's just they're at a crossroads, you would think, or they're going to be stuck with where they are and have been.
Well, I agree. the onside. Yeah, I think it was great. I think Davis' overall point, that's what the podcast, as an Ohio State fan, I'm not ashamed to admit it. What I was going to say was, his underlying point about, and they do recruit well in scenarios. They've recruited well on the defensive side of the ball. They've recruited well on the offensive line. They've recruited, pretty wide receiver. I'm sure they'd like to see with Nico Collins back. They've got some talent there. Bonnie Bell could be an emerging wide receiver position of an ability. And I know they got some guys that obviously does come back to the quarterback position. I know he talked about. By the way, don't only have the 57% completion percentage. That's high log.
Hey, David, we're losing you quite a bit there.
Oh, no. Can you hear me better now, Mark?
Not really. It's good enough for me to carry on a conversation. I don't know if it's good enough for people to listen to. It's just kind of breaking up. And
Mark, can you hear me better now?
I didn't hear anything what you just said.
Mark, hear me?
Yeah, we just heard that.
Okay. Clear, making sure.
Hello?
Mark?
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yes. Go ahead, Dave.
Okay. So what I was going to say was, quarterback position, only shooting for like a 7% percentage. That's the bar pretty high for him going into next year. There's a lot of better quarterbacks better than that. Jeff Patterson did have goals last year too, but it's going to be interesting to see how he can play because again, that's the position of been able to get right.
Yeah, I didn't. Again, we're having some difficulty there. So, Dave, we appreciate the call.
Okay.
Call us anytime, Dave. I don't.
All right.
All right. Yes, Luke, we need to limit to a certain extent that as well. 860-325-3687. There we go. Hey, it's Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football. Who's on the line?
Hey, Mark. This is Byrick in the comment section. You know me as Jesse Sullivan.
Hey, Jesse. Byrick, how's it going, man?
Hey, Mark. Yeah, going good. Yeah, I am a little disappointed. I really thought that Fox might have taken advantage of that time slot tonight, rather than. And I get what you're saying about the VPN wants to protect their brand, but I would think that maybe I don't know.
So when you say Fox, are you talking about either? Can you get obviously the main Fox channel, but FS1 as well?
I get everything on
Sure.
Fox except
Okay.
the weekend because I don't have
Gotcha.
the sports package for it. I mean, I get all the sports channels basically except for BTN.
I can't believe I'm actually asking this question as a huge baseball fan in the past, but is the World Series on tonight?
I don't care. I don't
Well,
know.
I know you don't care, but the Fox carries the World Series. So if the World Series is on,
I'm guessing it is.
yeah, they're not going to bump the World Series for Wisconsin, Illinois.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, because they think that's more. Like, are people really watching that more? Do you really think more people are watching that?
Well, Byrick,
right now
it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what I think. It matters what the TV ratings say. And yes, more people watch the World Series than any.
And obviously they're taking numbers and they're getting numbers and says, yeah, we should put this on.
More people watch the World Series than any college football game other than the Rose Bowl and the college football playoffs.
Yeah, which is stupid.
Well, anyway, that's the way it is. They run a business, so they're trying to make money.
Yeah, I mean that's all it is. I just I didn't think about Fox having the World Series on because I don't care about it.
I got you.
What you got?
What's that, Byrick?
I was just asking what you was going to say because you kind of broke up. But I was calling in to kind of see exactly if you had to pick one of the best upsets of the weekend, what would you pick? So, like, what game are you most going to watch in anticipation?
Yeah.
Not like the biggest game, but
sure.
like the tightest game. What do you think is going to be the tightest game of the weekend?
Well, I'll give you my typical spiel, and you probably heard this before, that I am always looking for upsets because it's like clockwork. The 20 to 25% of the games in the top 25 will be upsets. So that's usually about 4 to 5 games per week will be upsets. So this week we're looking at, certainly I didn't look at tonight's game because I picked Wisconsin to cover the spread. So I'm looking at, I haven't even looked at the spreads, and I got to make my predictions to get those over on Patreon tomorrow. But I'm guessing that North Carolina is a healthy favorite against NC State. But of course, they're missing their starting quarterback. Yeah, I think that's like a 13-point spread. I like.
Wow, it's 13. It went down a little bit, but depending on where you looked.
Auburn, Ole Miss. Do we know what the point spread is there?
Last time I checked, it was right around 3 to 4.
Well, let me run them down. Let me go to the lines. I'll get away from the schedule, and I'll go straight to the betting lines, and we'll see what they are right now. Okay. So, starting tomorrow, we've got Boston College is a 3.5-point favorite against Georgia Tech. I kind of like Florida State with 5 points against Louisville. And you're talking about not necessarily just covering. You're talking about winning the game outright.
Yeah.
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 Okay, Pitt's lost 3 straight games. They're playing at home against Notre Dame. And Pitt's got the defensive personnel to pull off an upset as a 9.5-point favorite for underdog.
I like Pitt now.
Yeah, I like.
Is Kenny Pickett still out? They still starting their backup quarterback?
See, that's what I hate about college football injuries is that we have no idea. And I looked that up just yesterday, and there were all sorts of articles out there, and they all just talked about if Kenny Pickett plays, and nobody lets anyone know what's going on. So that's unfortunate. But so we don't know that. Although
you kind of like the advanced metrics and stuff, but I'll just say this: if Pittsburgh can hold Notre Dame to like 30%, or even 50% of what they did last week, they're going to score 3 points.
Yeah, and I don't want to overreact to Notre Dame struggling against Louisville, but they didn't play well against Duke in the opener. They only had a 1-score lead in the fourth quarter, and Duke's no good.
Yeah.
And so they crushed South Florida, which everybody is. So that's not a big deal. And they didn't play well against Florida State. They were down close to halftime in that game. And they did pull away eventually. But Florida State's, besides last week's miraculous effort, not that good. So Notre Dame hasn't showed us anything against anyone. And if anything, they've now notched 2 bad games against bad opponents, Louisville and Duke, both at home. So for them to go on the road now for the first time this season, they played 3 home games. They haven't played on the road yet, have they? They played Louisville at home. They had Duke at home. They had South Florida at home. They had Florida State at home. They played 4 home games.
They played 4 home games.
Yeah, so they played 4 home games. They're going on the road for the first time. They're playing by far the best defense they're going to see. I like Pitt and 9.5 points. Now, even if Kenny Pickett doesn't play, Joey Yellen, who played last week, started to hit a groove in the second half, and he actually competed with Jaden Daniels at Arizona State for the starting job. He's not awful.
No, he's not.
This North Carolina
the best receivers.
This North Carolina spread's up to 15.
I like North Carolina State.
That's a lot of points.
I listened to your video. I can't remember who you were talking with earlier this week, talking about how Hoffman was actually
Yes.
in a major competition for the starting quarterback spot.
Yep.
I don't think they're going to have that much of a drop off. I mean, when I went down and wrote all the games down and everything that I wanted to, I don't bet. I don't place any money on it because I'm that kind of person. If I go in a hole, I'm just going to start throwing them. I don't. But I just like to pick the games to see exactly how I did it, just for fun. I don't see North Carolina. When I picked it yesterday, North Carolina State was a 15-point underdog.
Yes.
I was like, nah, they're not going to lose by 15. They may lose by 14, but actually, I think NC State's going to straight out win it. I really do. If I were going to take my that would be my super dog of the week.
Yeah.
I would put money on NC State on the money line. I mean, when I wrote it all down, they were almost like 5 times. You'd win 5 times your money.
Well, if you were a betting man, the time to take that game would have been early in the week. I see here that North Carolina started as an 18-point favorite. So a lot of people are with you that was too much.
Yeah, it's just too much. I mean, like I don't doubt that North Carolina can win that game. But
sure.
Yeah, and then another game. Talking about money line bets that were big. Rutgers, Michigan State.
Yeah, it's only 11.
Give me Rutgers. Give me Rutgers in that. I'm sorry.
Really?
At least a couple. I think Rutgers has a possibility to win that game. I personally think that Michigan State is going to come out and not have any idea exactly how to play football. I think they're going to look really bad, and I'm not saying that they don't have talent. They're going to where they have talent in the position you're going to see that. The cohesiveness of a team, I think Rutgers is going to get that.
So Byrick realized that Rutgers has lost 21 consecutive Big Ten games. And I can think of one game that they played close against Northwestern, a good Northwestern team that won the Big Ten West 2 years ago. Other than that, they have been annihilated pretty much across the board by everybody. So until I have any faith in Rutgers covering a point spread that's only 11, I got to see them play one decent game. I know that they got their coach back, Greg Schiano, who's going to put that program in a much better place than who they've had, Chris Ash. But I got to see it.
I just think Schiano might have them not make enough errors. You know, like not have a false start when they're first and goal on the 3, and then put them back. You know, those kind of simple little things. I think Schiano's going to have, and I'm like Michigan State's definitely a more talented team. They can beat Rutgers just on talent, but Mel Tucker. I don't know. I don't know about Mel Tucker up there.
All right, Byrick. Got another call coming in here. I appreciate the call, and thanks for the Super Chat contribution. Much appreciated.
No problem, Mark. Talk to you later.
All right, Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football. Who's on the line? Hello? Oh, somebody left us there. Okay, somebody's asking about Scott Frost's comments about Ryan Day and Ohio State. I missed those, so I'm going to have to look those up, and then I will give you my impression of those. Also, keep in mind that I love the comment, and now it's advanced too far in the live chat that I can't go back and post it on the screen. Love the comment from, somebody who was making fun of my dress and attire and not shaving, because I made a comment about this being my full-time job now. This is my full-time job. I've got to make it go here. And somebody made a comment about if I want to make this a full-time job, I need to shave and I need to put on some decent clothes like they do at Fox and ESPN. I've had those jobs. I had those jobs for a long time where I used to have to put on the nice suit, shirt, tie, put the makeup on for the TV cameras for 9 years. I had to do that, and it was a great job. 2 jobs in particular. And if you guys really think that the ratings and the views are going to go up because I put a suit and tie on, then maybe we'll take that poll and see. Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football. Who's on the line?
Maryland is +11 on the Breeze against Northwestern on Saturday night on the Big Ten Network. I believe not only they're going to cover, they're going to get the victory against Northwestern.
Yeah, I think we talked about that when the line came out, and I just thought that that was way too heavy on that one. I don't know about winning the game, but it's too heavy for me.
Yeah, I think we're going to win the game. Now, granted, I'll admit that we have not named a starting quarterback. I don't know why we haven't named a starting quarterback.
Yeah.
I actually, it's between Tua's brother,
Sure.
Tolava, and LaGrande, and I actually think it's going to be LaGrande. I know Locke's retired on LaGrande. He's the guy that came in last year, basically, that if anybody doesn't know, even though probably no one was watching the games except me because I'm a Maryland fan, we were down like 49-0 to like Ohio State that basically ran the QB option every time. So I don't know what to think of that exactly if he did the starting line because I don't know anything about this guy's passing ability as a quarterback. So it should be interesting to see how that goes if he starts, which I think he will. So
Yeah, I looked up some information on both of them. Of course, Talia is more celebrated because of his brother, but I am not going to be watching that game, but I certainly want to watch the cut-down version because I need to see those guys play, whether it's going to be split time or one takes the field and finishes out the game. I really am anxious to see either one or both of them play just to see what they can do against what is typically a sound at Northwestern defense. Not extremely talented, but a sound at Northwestern defense.
Well, I know the one thing out Northwestern you're always going to get is toughness and physical play. So that's the two things I always know that we're going to get out of Northwestern. But I think they go in there and beat them. I think we have a good shot. I'll definitely say it's over the spread. I mean, if we can lose by 2-3 touchdowns, I'll come on here and absolutely blast Maryland. But I expect us to go in there and at least give them a fair game. I have us winning the game 28-21. But we'll see what happens. I mean, I can't wait. I'm so happy that we're finally getting a chance to play some football. Not the schedule I would want us to have personally because we got rid of the West Virginia game. And I was going to have some fun in week 3 of that one. But basically, I'm happy that we're going to get 9 games in. So hopefully we have a good season. I know you said 3-5. I mean 2-6 with us losing against to Northwestern in the week 9 game. Since you said we're going to get a rematch in that one, I actually think we go 3-5 in the regular season. I'm not going to pick a game, the 9th game, obviously, because I don't know who we're going to be playing exactly. But I think we beat Northwestern, Michigan State, and Rutgers this year.
Okay, that wouldn't surprise me. Of course, that's only a game different than mine. I am surprised that the betting public likes Northwestern because this game opened at 8 points and it's up to 11. Northwestern has trouble scoring, and I know it's a different team, and we got to see what they're going to do this year. But I can't imagine, even with Peyton Ramsey being an upgraded quarterback, that Northwestern is going to be able to score many points against hardly anybody. So that's a very challenged offense, and for them to be an 11-point favorite against anybody in the conference is just way too much, in my opinion.
I agree. But, yeah, basically, I'm fired up as a Maryland fan. Yeah, we play this week. So a few other quick notes. I think Minnesota beat Michigan. I heard it might snow over that game. I hope it does. I always like watching games in snow. But I hope, I think Minnesota gets the win against Michigan. Looking now West, I didn't know they start their play this week as well. To shout out to them. And basically, I don't think anything too big this week. That caller called up earlier in the show saying that Dave Doran was going to be a big win is laughable to me. I don't think that North Carolina actually covered the 15.5 points. I know that's a lot of points as well, but I have absolutely no faith in Dave Doran. And I agree with, I think it was the same caller. I think Rutgers could beat Michigan State. I think it can happen. I don't know if I'll exactly go ahead and pick the game or pick the. I think they're also a 1 point underdog. I don't know if I'll pick the points right there. I think that's a tough enough one, but it was about a great Rutgers to get ahead of Michigan State.
Well, if you're talking about who could beat who, I'm only going to take about 5 games out of the equation this week and say that team can't beat that other team. Syracuse can't beat Clemson, etc. The rest of them, I'm not going to tell you that hardly anybody can't beat another team. I think the next one on the board would be the Ohio State-Nebraska game. But other than those, man, Indiana can beat Penn State. NC State can beat North Carolina. And Pitt can beat Notre Dame. And all sorts of things can happen. Any of those games within 10 to 14 points, I think, are winnable by the underdog.
Yeah, I mean, you're right, but I just picked Dave Doran to win any big game. The guy, all he does is sit there and play an easy non-conference schedule and picks off a few teams in the ACC that happen to be worse than NC State during that year. And he ends up at 7-5. True.
I believe, McD, that you do know my thoughts on Dave Doran. So I'm not much different than you are in my evaluation of Dave Doran's tenure at North Carolina State. It's been atrocious. If you really look underneath the surface of just getting to bowl games like he does, and the general perception that North Carolina State football is pretty good, and they go 8-5 and they go to bowl games. Yeah, but if you really look underneath the surface, people, go out there. If you got nothing to do after this live stream, watch my video on Dave Doran's tenure at North Carolina State, because it will uncover and really go under the surface of these numbers in regards to how poorly NC State has played football in the ACC under Dave Doran. But, McD, we got to admit this year there hasn't been the matchups against James Madison and Old Dominion and William and Mary and East Carolina, and they're 4-1.
And then they'll be Georgia Tech, or actually they lost to Georgia Tech last time they faced off. These in their conference. They'll be like Syracuse and Boston College, and then maybe when North Carolina is there, they'll beat them, and maybe whoever they get out the Coastal and get 7-5. So that's why I have absolutely no faith in NC State going into this game. Let me give you one upset though before I let you go.
Okay.
That I think is going to happen. I think South Carolina is going to go into Death Valley, LSU, and go ahead and beat them.
I can see it. They got to feel good about themselves after beating Auburn last week, and obviously LSU has played 3 games now, and you can't basically, I don't know that you can really count the Vandy game much. Everybody's killing Vandy, so you throw that game out, and LSU's played 2 marginal opponents, and they've gotten torched by both of them. So that's going to be an intriguing one. That might be one of my upsets as well. They're a 7-point underdog right now.
Yeah, what's the spread?
7 points. 7.
Yeah, I'll absolutely pick South Carolina plus 7. No questions about it. But can't wait for it tomorrow. It should be a big day for college football. Obviously, it's a Big Ten. Now West is returning as well. So we'll see what happens there. You know, conscious thing. I will say Air Force, watch out for them this year. But that's all really happening. More thanks for getting my call. Good church for being Northwestern.
Thanks, McD. Oh. We had another call coming in. Just call right back. was hanging up with McD. That hung up your call at the same time. So I was hanging up on him, and you called at the same time, so it hung up both calls. So please call back, 860-325-3687. So technical technician is asking about the comments that Scott Frost must have made at his weekly news conference about Ryan Day. So I just did a Google search. All I could find were videos. Of course, I can't watch a video while we're doing our show. I was going to read the comments, but I didn't see any script about the Frost comments on Ryan Day. Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football. Who's on the line?
Hey, morning, DeAndre. How you doing, man?
Hey, DeAndre. I'm doing well. What's going on, man?
Hey, thanks for talking me out of betting on the Illinois Wisconsin game.
Yeah, no. You don't want to take that Illinois team against that Wisconsin defense. They couldn't score a point.
Well, yeah, I don't know what those guys were thinking on that other channel.
I don't know
while
either.
I was listening to them talk about it. Mark, there was a question that I always wanted to ask you, and I'm not going to keep you long tonight. Are you shocked? I don't know how much NFL football you follow, but you're a football fan.
Love the NFL.
I'm sure you're just like me. Okay. Are you shocked that Leonard Fournette and Sam Donald struggles in the NFL? I know a lot of them got to do with organization you go to, but are you shocked about how much both of those guys have struggled? Especially Leonard Fournette with all the hype that he got coming out of high school. I think he was like the #1 player in his class.
Who did you mention besides Fournette?
Sam Donald.
Oh, Sam Darnold. Okay, Fournette. The only thing that made me a bit hesitant on Fournette translating to the next level is that he's just not a very versatile player. He's always struck me as the kind of player in college where he had to have the offense built around him. He had to line up 5 to 7 yards behind the quarterback, in the tailback position and be that guy. And he wasn't necessarily going to be able to line up in different places, do different things, be a third down back, come out of the backfield, catch passes. Just, he just never struck me as a guy that had the versatility that's more required in the NFL and in college football today.
And that's what I was thinking when he came out. I really don't think he had a great work effort, but that's what I was shocked that he was taking as high as he was because of the reasons what you just named, the versatility of him, and like for him to be the #1 player out of high school, and I know he played in a good conference in Louisiana, but I was still kind of shocked because he was an old school type running back, and more people was moving on to like the Le'Veon Bell type running back because all the good work he did with Pittsburgh, and I can't think of anybody else off the top of my head right now, but those type of guys. So yeah, I was kind of shocked that he was highly rated, and and not saying that he wasn't a beast, but I was just wondering what you shocked. What about Sam Donald?
So I think the quarterback position is affected more so than any other position by what team drafts the quarterback, because the quarterback needs, unless the guy is just off the charts, just incredible, and Sam Darnold's not that guy. He's obviously gifted, but you know how starved teams are to get a franchise quarterback. Baker Mayfield had a really nice freshman first year in the NFL. But he is not an elite player at the quarterback position like he would have to be at another position to be drafted that high, if you follow me. Like teams reach for quarterbacks. Josh Rosen was not the 10th best player in the draft to be drafted that high in the NFL draft. He should have been like a second or third rounder, if that. So teams reach for quarterbacks. So Sam Darnold wasn't the third best player in the draft. I think that's where he was drafted, number 3 or 4. And so I think the organizational fit is huge, especially for a quarterback, because they need development. They need a great quarterback coach. They need just that. They need the protection. They need all those things to work in their favor. And we've seen it time and time again. If quarterbacks go to the wrong organization, you know, it would be great if we could all get in a time machine, or we could be God and say, let's take Tom Brady and make him play for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, like back in, 1999 when he got drafted, and 2000, I should say, when he got drafted, and see how his career would have gone. Because I just think that is so important. And the Jets are a complete mess. They are the worst franchise. Yeah, they're the worst franchise in the NFL right now. And so in watching Darnold play, I haven't seen him play much this year. I've seen him throw some passes, but I haven't really. I sit here, DeAndre, on Sunday afternoon and watch the Red Zone because I try to see as much as possible. And then I'm working on all this college football business, but I'm watching. And so I don't sit there and watch anybody play one game in the NFL unless it's Thursday night or Monday night. And I was pretty impressed with him early, his first year or two, but I know that he's played really badly this year. But I just think that organization's so dysfunctional, and I just think they haven't given anybody much of a shot there.
But Josh Rosen was another person that I asked you about too. Because like I tell you, you know how I feel about Mitch Trubisky, and like I said, I never seen Mahomes play till he got to the NFL.
Sure.
I didn't nobody sitting around watching Texas Tech play. I saw that game against Oklahoma, but Oklahoma was terrible on offense anyway. But I mean on defense anyway. When they went back to home, I think he threw 7 touchdown passes. But anyway, yeah, Josh Rosen was another one I couldn't figure out. Because you hear all the fanfare with these guys, like, yeah, he's this, he's that, like Josh Rosen. I know him and Deshaun Watson had a disagreement. And he was like, Clemson's not a real academic school because they go on the school for communication. And it was like, Josh Rosen kind of thinks out of the box. He's just not a yes and no person. He ain't going to sit there and let the coach tell him what to do. And he get in the NFL. He didn't work out with Miami. He didn't work out with the Cardinals. And I think he's on the practice squad with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And he was hearing about all this hype. So I was like, I'm a Steelers fan. I'm like, well, maybe Josh Rosen is somebody the Steelers should pick up. And people were like, he's terrible. And I never really ever seen him play, but you heard about him all the way through college. Like, he's supposed to be one of the best players out there. And, unfortunately, it didn't work out for him so far. But you never know because, they recycle quarterbacks like crazy, especially ones like Josh Rosen and Sam McDonald. They're going to get other chances. But
the other thing I didn't like necessarily about Josh Rosen, and sometimes players can make comments and they're taken out of context. So I don't blow those types of things out of proportion when, maybe somebody says something and everybody goes crazy that either, they care too much about football or they don't care enough about football or whatever it is. But I thought he made enough of those statements for me to believe that this guy isn't necessarily going to be Peyton Manning when it comes to watching film constantly. And you just need to be, if you're going to be successful in the NFL, especially at the quarterback position, you need to be a little nuts. You need to be a little obsessed with getting better. Yeah. You should be the first guy in the building and the last guy to leave because you're looked upon as a leader and you're probably the highest paid and your position requires the most film study. So you better be that guy.
Right. Yeah, because I was kind of happy when Sean Watson went to Texas because at that time the Texans, I think I done told you, they had Hopkins and they had Watt and they had Clowney and Mercer. So I was like, yeah, he's going to a decent team. But then Bill O'Brien kind of broke the team up and Watt, he would start being injury prone. So, now Deshaun Watson is looking like, not looking as bad as Trubisky looks, but, will he be able to recover? Will they be able to give him enough weapons? And I can understand why Bill O'Brien's thinking is like he's focused on Hopkins too much. So So we're going to trade Hopkins and, get the ball spread around. But I'm like, you give him the best receiver in the game just because you don't like him or something like that. And I'm sure there's a lot of people that don't get along with their coach. So I was kind of disappointed in that. But like I said, man, I appreciate for you letting me call in, man. And, we'll have to do a big fundraiser for you somehow to keep supporting the channel, man.
Appreciate that, DeAndre. Always love talking football with you, man.
All right, man. Take care. I'll see you in a little while.
All righty. Our man DeAndre talking always brings an interesting question. So he wanted to talk Leonard Fournette and Sam Darnold. Then it got into Josh Rosen and others. Always an interesting phone call from DeAndre. I want to recognize the Super Chat contribution of Raymond. Thank you so much, Raymond, for contributing here. It's goes a long way. What can I say? Will Mel Tucker ever be able to bring MSU back to 2013 to 15 levels? If he does, then he should be the coach of the year in college football. Michigan State, okay. I've been watching college football since the late 70s. Michigan State hit its peak in the mid-60s, and of course, the most famous of those games was the 10-10 tie as a 1-2 game versus Notre Dame in 1966. That cost Michigan State a national championship because everybody voted for some odd reason. And maybe I'll review that season, as many of you request certain seasons to be reviewed in regard to the national championship race, 1966. After that, except for a few pops up the radar in which Michigan State challenged for a Big Ten title, and they actually tied for a Big Ten title in 1978, Michigan State go through from the late 70s up until Mark D'Antonio took over. Michigan State was an average program in the Big Ten. Of course, they didn't play 12 games back then. They played 11 games. And you will see Michigan State, we could go through it. I could almost tell you their record by year: 5-6, 6-5, 6-5-1, 7-5 after a bowl game, 5-6, 6-5. Almost like, okay, 1987, they had one of their better teams with Lorenzo White and Percy Snow, and won the Rose Bowl over USC and finished in the top 10 that year at 9-2-1. 1999, Plaxico Burress at wide receiver, and they beat Florida in the Citrus Bowl to finish 10-2 with Bobby Williams as coach, who took over for Nick Saban, who had departed for LSU. So that was a Nick Saban recruited team. No big surprise. One of Michigan State's better teams in the last 50 years, 10-2 in 1999. Beat Florida and Steve Spurrier in the Citrus Bowl. Okay. D'Antonio shows up after Larry Smith and a number of just awful seasons or underachieving seasons. Not necessarily awful. D'Antonio, I think it's all just football knowledge and organization and just knowing how to prepare a team. It wasn't necessarily recruiting. Sure, he upgraded the recruiting, but not substantially. He raised the recruiting, but he built a solid football juggernaut just out of hard work, technique, game planning, building a structure, building a team that believed in the brand. And 2010, they go to a Big Ten championship game, and many thought they got ripped off late in the game against Wisconsin and Russell Wilson. 2011, they beat Georgia in the Citrus Bowl to cap off a nice season. 2012, they had just a brief down year with, of course, oh my word, I'm not the Steelers, now Chiefs running back. Oh, Le'Veon Bell, and they had a quarterback issue in 2012 with Connor Cook competing with the other guy, Tyler. So anyway, 2013, they had their best team. Even though they went to the playoff in 15, I thought the 2013 team was the best team. They lost one game. They went undefeated in the Big Ten. They lost one game on the road at Notre Dame, in which they were flagged for about 7 pass interference calls, and about 6 of them were bogus. And they lost by 1 score to Notre Dame, I believe, 20-17. They won the Big Ten championship in comeback fashion against Ohio State. They were down by 7, 24-17. They scored the last 17 points of the game to win by 10. Had a great fourth down stand against Braxton Miller with about 5 minutes left and a 3-point lead. Went on and won the Rose Bowl. Next season, Ohio State was the juggernaut. Of course, they couldn't stand up to that all-time great team that won the national championship, but they only lost 2 games. They went 11-2, finished in the top 5 or 6 in the nation, beat Baylor in a great comeback, of course, at the Cotton Bowl. Down 41-20, came back and won 42-41. Great comeback against Baylor at the Cotton Bowl. And then the next year, of course, the college football playoff team. And the reason that I think the 13 team, they just played better. They were just a better team. If you go result by result and look at the team, look at the personnel, look at the play against the quality opponents, the 13 team was superior to the 15 team. Unfortunately for the Big Ten and Michigan State, it was the 15 team that went to the college football playoff and got waxed by Alabama. Ohio State should have been in that game from a talent standpoint. And that was difficult to watch just from a competition standpoint because that Michigan State team deserved better. And again, they beat Ohio State head-to-head to their credit, but the Michigan win was a fluke on the dropped punt where the kid threw the ball up in the air. They lost to a 5-7 Nebraska team that year, so the Michigan State team was not a top 4 team. They were a top 10 or 12 team. And then they go from college football playoff to 3-9. And then there were a number of scandals involved with both attached to the football program. The football program was not the center of the scandals and the controversy, but there was guilt by association. And there was some of it had to do with the football program as well. And Michigan State leveled off to what they had been before. They did go 10-3 in 2017 with a nice win over Washington State at the Holiday Bowl. But it's going to be difficult for Mel Tucker for 2 basic reasons. They play in a division with Ohio State, Penn State, and Michigan. So they're already number 4 just by pecking order. And number 2, it's difficult to recruit to Michigan State, and it's difficult to recruit in the state of Michigan. They play in a top 15 recruiting state in the nation, which sounds impressive out of 50 states, but it's not because it goes from Texas, California, Florida, producing 40% of the top 300 players in the nation every year, 40% to Georgia, Louisiana per capita, South Carolina, Ohio, Pennsylvania, and then it just Michigan. So they've got to develop talent. So that's Mel Tucker's task, is to develop talent and to find and to recruit and find gems in the rough, like D'Antonio did a decade ago. So I think it's going to be a rough ride for Mel Tucker. So don't be looking for the 20 to 13 to 15 Michigan State Spartans anytime soon. Be looking for 8-4. That would be a great accomplishment. Going 8-4 at Michigan State for the next couple of years. I think that's even lofty, but that should be the goal in the next few years. All right, who's on the line here? Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football.
Mark Rogers, can you hear me clearly now?
Hey, Dave.
Hey, real quick.
Yes.
I was just saying, Joe Milton, the quarterback for Michigan, a 57% completion percentage is nothing to brag about, by the way. I know you guys were talking about that on the CK show, but I don't think that's something to shoot for. That was the point I was trying to make about their quarterback situation.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right, Dave, I appreciate you calling back.
Real quick, give me a Stone Cold Lead Pipe lock for tomorrow.
Clemson beats Syracuse. There's your lock.
One more time?
Clemson beats Syracuse. There's your lock.
What's the line?
I'm just saying they win the game. There's your lock.
No, okay.
You want a lock, there's a lock.
Against the spread. I know you're 39-29 against the spread.
40-29. We had an update tonight.
Yeah, okay.
You're going to get my picks. You're on Patreon. You'll get my picks. I know that they're late. I should get them out on Thursday. I should make sure that those are on Thursday. So you'll get the picks, and I have no idea. I haven't looked at anything, so I'm going to be up late trying to improve on that record. It's a little less than I want it to be.
All right. Well, I'm going to try and make some money tomorrow. I'm going to look at these lines and see what I can do. You're going to do a live stream after the Buckeye game?
Yes. Yes,
Okay.
we will. Live
Okay.
stream right after the Buckeyes game, right after the noon window. Yes.
Okay.
Thanks, Dave.
Then, Mark. You take care.
Appreciate that. So, Raymond, that's my thoughts on Michigan State football going forward. Big Ten quarterbacks are kind of weak. Maybe not quite as weak as you think they are. Tanner Morgan. We'll see if Sean Clifford continues to develop. Michael Penix is a talent at Indiana. Adrian Martinez, not a great performance last year, but he was hurt. Peyton Ramsey, very capable. I think if you go down the quarterback list in any conference, there's not a whole lot there before there start to be some question marks. There are two outstanding quarterbacks in the ACC. And that's Lawrence and Howe. King is good. Malik Cunningham's good. Sims at Georgia Tech is going to be better. Kenny Pickett's not great. Kenny Pickett's a mid-level quarterback in the Big Ten. Would be in the Big Ten. Devin Leary is okay. The guy at Boston College could turn out to be a really good quarterback, but we don't know that right now. He's showing signs. The Notre Dame transfer, Phil Jurkovic, could be really good. Notre Dame, Notre Dame's not in the ACC. Florida State does not have a good quarterback situation. Tommy DeVito gets buried every week, so we don't even know if he can play because he's on his back constantly. We apologize for not getting that call-in number up there all the time. So this is what I should do. Here you go. We will do it this way. How about that? Should have done that about 10 months ago. Good to see you, Jinker GM. Buckeye blessed. Glad Big Ten football is back. Would like to see missing fans in the stands. Yeah. Yeah, we talked about that, Matthew. What I need to do is I need to prep my moderators better. I need to do a better job, and I will do that. I'm not used to having my moderators, and now we've got moderators, so that's certainly a good thing. So I'm going to get that information on to my moderators and better equip them. First with the call-in number, which you can see right there, 860-325-3687, and also some links to provide you with some great content that you may have missed from this week. Chuck C. Chuck, I hope you heard my comment from earlier in the stream because I apologize that I got your super chat from the earlier live stream today and I got to talking about something and I forgot to post it to the screen and then I signed off and I felt horrible because I like to get all the super chats posted to the screen. So Chuck C, thank you so much for the contribution right there. Want to hit this real quick. After a long week away back home in Salt Lake City and ready for some college football Saturday. Thanks for helping us to get ready, Mark. Appreciate you. Chuck, we appreciate you. Thank you. All right. Who's on the line for the voice of college football?
Hey, Mark, it's Byron again. I remembered I wanted to ask you something. Why exactly is Ian Book starting at Notre Dame?
Ahead of the...
Djokovic has shown so much more spark.
Yep.
Like, he seems more of an athlete than Ian
Yep.
Book.
Yep.
Like, what is your take on that? Like, did Brian Kelly get it wrong? Did he pull a Kirby Smart?
Possibly. So Jurkovic, we heard a lot about him and how good he was, and he came out of high school as a 4-star. And of course, if you sign at Notre Dame, you're typically pretty good. The 2 games that I saw parts of Jurkovic play was I saw the 4th quarter against North Carolina. There were other games on that were supposed to be better, but then that turned into a real close game at the end. So I watched like the last 8 or 10 minutes of that game, and I thought Jurkovic was exceptional in that game. He had little protection, and he was throwing from all sorts of different arm angles and was moving out of the pocket, throwing on the run. He just looked exceptional. Now, again, that's only 7 or 8 minutes of game time. But in the 2-minute drill, with $1:45 on the clock and down by 8 points, he took that Boston College team right down the field. And it's not like they're loaded with talent. He's got a really good tight end in Long. I can't think of his first, Hunter Long. And the one wide receiver they have is they, most teams that are mid-tier ACC teams have like 3 or 4 viable wide receivers. He's got like one guy. And he did a great job taking them right down the field. And again, most of the time, he's not setting up in a clean pocket. He's like running around. He's dodging dudes.
He's rolling out.
Yeah. And then I saw him play bits and pieces again. There were other games that were more important, but I checked in from time to time against Pitt, and I saw the same quarterback. So I'm not going to say that I've seen a ton.
Well, he also knows exactly how to stand in the pocket, too. He knows when to maneuver in the pocket and then when also to roll out. So it's just one of those question marks of like, is he actually better?
I think most coaches, Byrick, get locked in on one guy, and as long as that guy is not a screw-up and doesn't turn the ball over and does a decent job and they're winning games, they get fixated and they get comfortable and conservative in not seeing the talent and not seeing the possibilities of somebody else.
Yeah. And I mean, I can't blame Brian Kelly. Like, when you have a quarterback, it's kind of similar to what's going on with Georgia right now, but Georgia's got, it's a little more exponential with Georgia. Because, I won't get into that. But I really like that comparison between the two. The fact that you had to, Brian Kelly had to make a move to Ian Book at the time. And when he had to make that move, was Jurkovic even on the team? Because didn't they basically have to make the move because oh Lord, who was their quarterback that got hurt?
Are you talking about at Notre Dame?
Yeah, at Notre Dame.
You're talking about Brandon Wimbush?
Yeah, didn't they have to move to Ian Book because Wimbush got hurt?
Yeah, well, no, they were kind of in a competition. The one season that Wimbush started...
Not exactly, but like I thought it had Wimbush's injury and not performing up to par had a lot to do with. Yeah,
the first time we really saw Ian Book was in the bowl game against LSU. Wimbush started most of that season, and it did start the entire season, and then he just looked lousy in that game, and they yanked him, and Book came in and led a game-winning drive.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. It's just one of those things of like, and was Jurkovic even on the team at that time?
No, that was...
I think he was actually being recruited then.
Yeah, that was 2017. Yeah, he wasn't on the team then.
Yeah, he wasn't on the team yet. So it was kind of one of those things of, he might have hoped to get in there, and he made an absolute awesome choice to follow Jeff Hafley, because I think as much as you talked about Satterfield last year, how awesome he did.
Yeah.
Haple's doing it even better. Satterfield did last
Sure.
he's
got less talent. Yeah, he's got less talent.
I mean, he's got less talent, but the one thing, as a Clemson fan, the one thing that I've always had to respect, the most disciplined team out of every team in the ACC has always been, in my mind, BC. And if he can handle that, and if he can maintain that, and get talent, discipline, and all that, with good quarterback play, I think BC is one of the most solid teams in the ACC. I'm not saying they're great or anything, but I think they're solid.
Sure.
Good on both sides of the ball.
They are.
And I know you like Ohio State and kind of followed him. What was his unit on? Was he defense? I know he was involved with the defense at Ohio State. What was his unit?
He was a defensive backs coach at Ohio State.
Defensive backs. That's what I was thinking, because they were replacing him. Who did they replace him with?
Yeah, that's a great question. That is a great question.
I heard his name in one of your videos the other day. Who did you have on that? He's got the beard.
I had
Ohio State with you.
Pat Murphy on from Bucknuts, and let's see.
Yeah.
Whoa. So is Kerry Combs taking on the defensive backs?
That sounds familiar.
So Kerry Combs had been the defensive backs coach. Yeah. So Kerry Combs came back this season, and he is defensive coordinator and secondary coach. Yes, Kerry Combs. Should have known that. Yeah, forgot about that.
Well, that should be that's in continuity for Ohio State right there. Keeping them all together.
Yep.
I just wanted to get that out with you. There's a whole many more things I can talk with you about. What's your next live phone show?
All right. So what we're going to do tomorrow?
I got the bell on. So,
appreciate that, Byron. Tell everybody, turn the bell on. And I hope to announce, ding, ding, ding. I hope to announce maybe Sunday. I've been working on a programming schedule that I can release to everybody and say, this is what it's going to be every week. We're going to lock in on this every week, unless there's some major thing that goes on in my life or something like that. But basically, we'll lock in on that every week. So it is jam-packed, believe me. So anyway, tomorrow, I'm going to take in all the noon games, and then I'm going to come on live at 3 o'clock, right at the end of the noon games. We'll take some calls, get everybody set for the 3:45 kickoffs. And then we'll go live after Michigan, Minnesota, about 11 o'clock at night.
All right, sounds good. I'll be around. One thing I've actually kind of started with this is a personal little story, but one thing I've started with, I'm a Clemson fan. We normally go to the games during the season and all that. But with us not being able to go to the games and all that, I've kind of started the tradition that I want to cook a meal or whatever themed wherever they're having a game day. So this week is a Minnesota theme.
Oh, okay. That's cool.
What would you think, and because I live in South Carolina, what would you think when I go on Google and type in Minnesota snacks, or like the most famous Minnesota snack? What do you think would come up?
Well, we're close to brat country there with Wisconsin and cheese, but Minnesota, there's obviously some type of a Norwegian influence there. Are we talking a snack? Are we talking junk food? Are we talking like a tailgate kind of food?
Well, I Googled snack, and it brought a whole bunch of stuff.
Minnesota snack.
It definitely brought up a whole bunch of. It brought up a whole bunch of some seafood.
Oh, seafood.
Because because Minnesota has so much.
Yeah,
like coastline
sure.
with
It's
the
the it's
Great Lakes
the
up there.
it's the state of 10,000
I
lakes.
brought that up, but one of the main things, you ever heard of Funky Chunky?
No, never heard of that.
It's a popcorn. It's a popcorn brand or some company up there of Minnesota, and they just make like gourmet popcorn. So,
Well, I think the Eskimo.
popcorn this weekend.
Okay, some gourmet popcorn. I'm not a big popcorn guy. I'm more of a sweets guy. But I would say that the Eskimo pie, just obviously from the weather standpoint, would come to mind as a snack that would be favorable to Minnesota.
Well, I mean, and then also they have the Juicy Lucy hamburger. Just a cheese stuffed hamburger.
Okay, it's good stuff. I had myself a steak sandwich tonight. It was pretty tasty.
I don't have anything spectacular, but I think it's going to be very interesting to see. Well, with and you kind of know with ESPN, they've branched out and gone to more what's the word that I'm looking for? Like inconspicuous places for game day. And some of them have ridiculous food traditions.
Yeah, that's not a show that I've watched. It's a tremendous show. There's no question about that. It's the gold standard of college football shows, and it is somewhat interesting that actually the person that runs audio for College Game Day reported to me for a few years there. But anyway, it's the gold standard. But I just have gotten out of the habit of watching it for probably a good 15 years. I'm pretty much turning on the TV right at noon for the kickoff of the first game. It's pretty much my Saturday tradition. I'm trying to get in a little exercise, a little breakfast with maybe my daughter, whatever else I'm doing, cleaning up around here, whatever I'm doing on a Saturday morning before I just turn on the kickoff. I'm the same way with the NFL games. I used to love NFL shows, pregame shows back, when I was 20 years old. I'd soak in all those pregame shows. Now I could care less to watch any NFL pregame show. I just flip it on for the game.
Have you ever worked farther out of the Eastern time zone?
I worked at a television station in Mississippi for 6 years, so that was Central Time Zone.
Right outside.
What's that?
I just think it would be really weird seeing all the Big 12 games start at noon, and I live on the Eastern time zone. Because you got to think, I'm kicking at 11 o'clock. I'll take that.
Well,
I'm complaining about noon kickoffs.
Yeah, I dated someone in California for about 9 years, and games kicking off at 9 a.m. That was kind of strange.
Yeah, and especially NFL out there, they care more about that. Yeah, that's just weird. Thank goodness we live on TV.
That's right.
Hey, Mark, I appreciate you taking my call.
Thanks, Byron.
Back at you.
You have a good one.
You too. Bye.
Our man Byrick calling in, and I appreciate the super chat contribution as always. I am so far behind. It is 12:37. I'm about a half hour behind in the live chat here. So anything else we need to get to? Kyle, I appreciate you taking my bit of a rebuff on the political talk. Thank you so much for that. But this is the type of political talk that we certainly can approve of. Mark Rogers for president of college football 2021. So we're going to have to wait a few months, get into 2021, get through all this political mess that's going on right now, and then focus on college football and the political process there. A president, commissioner, guru, whatever title you want to give it, I certainly have a number of recommendations that we could put into effect that would improve college football greatly. Seeing a number of names that I have not seen before, so I hope that all of you, including Rick Leggett, lock it in here at Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football. Please subscribe. Check out the videos. What else we got? There it is. Pigskin Pete and I, every Monday at noon, go over to Pigskin Pete's channel. Do that on a regular basis anyway, but get on over there on Monday because we have a good time and we break down the games. We look at the past weekend. Certainly looking forward to the coming weekend. It's just a good time. So check it out. Pigskin Pete's channel all the time over there. But in particular, when I show up on Monday at noon Eastern time. Oh, sorry. I put up a political comment. I said I wasn't going to do that, but I didn't know what was there. Here we go. Rondell Moore is not playing. Unfortunately, David points out to us, we don't even know if that's health related. They're being very secretive about that. And there's a player that opted out originally, and now he's come back to play, and now he's not playing. But they didn't even verify it on the Big Ten network, whether that was related to injury. They said it was unannounced, not reported. Even on the Big Ten network, they don't have the information on whether that is injury-based. Can't confirm that. Strange. All right, Xander, what you got here? Liberty could be a playoff contender if they win out with Virginia Tech still on their schedule. No. That would be nice, Xander. I get where you're going with that they should get something for going undefeated. Like UCF, if I am the president of Liberty and we go undefeated, I hang a banner. I'm going to hang a banner. That's all we can do. That's all we could do, especially if there are 1 lost teams and 2 lost teams in the college football playoff. Especially then, I will hang a banner. Byrick, thank you so much for pointing this out. Yes, I've got a PayPal. And I appreciate the Super Chat contributions. Keep them coming. They are much appreciated. I'm doing this full-time, full throttle all the time, 24/7. You're going to get sick of me. I'm going to be here all the time talking college football. Okay. Keep in mind that even though the Super Chat contribution is much, much appreciated, keep them coming. If you go to PayPal, Venmo, or Cash App, it's a much more direct process. The talking gets to be difficult about 1 in the morning. It's a much clearer and more direct process on PayPal, Cash App, and Venmo. So you can contribute right there. So thank you so much for that. If you go to the description section down underneath any of the videos, not necessarily this one right now, but any of the previous videos where all that mess that you see in the description section of all the things we're trying to push that we have available for you, go through that. You're going to see the only one of those, because the other ones are apps, the only one that I could actually post the URL, the link to, was PayPal. So you can find it right there. Byrick, thank you so much for the contribution. It is greatly appreciated. Yes and yes, David. We will get to those. David, I don't know if you were with us this past off season to go through some of my national championship reviews. We did 1983, 84, 90, and 2000, I believe, were the 4 years that we did. So I love doing those videos. But unfortunately now, since this is like serious business, this thing needs to take off. We need views. We need to branch it out. We need sponsors. We need to just ramp it up. I don't know that I'm going to do many of those because people only, some of you love those national championship reviews, and I love doing them, but not necessarily are they of a broad appeal. Herschel, filling in our discussion about Michigan State in 1966, was looked over in 1966 because they had more black players than any other team in the country. That is why they didn't win the championship that year. And that's an interesting perspective. And so Herschel is bringing that bit of information to the table. I cannot verify that, but certainly we appreciate Herschel, that contribution, because that was certainly a time in college football. Well, it started sometime in the mid to late 50s, Jim Brown playing at Syracuse in particular, and them not wanting him to go south to play in a bowl game. There was a controversy about him playing in the Cotton Bowl. And then as we progressed through the 60s, that was pretty much at the height, at the tipping point, 1966, of the black athlete, unfortunately, it taking all that time to become prominent in major college football. And it wasn't really until the early to mid 70s, really until, and this was something that I have to say was lost on me because I was only 9 or 10 years old at the time when I started watching college football in the late 70s, and just seeing where it was fully integrated at that point. And it happened, well, it's easy to say in the aftermath that it happened like that because it didn't just happen like that. But in regards to fully integrated, where it went from a position of in the early 70s, late 60s, early 70s, where it was very sporadic and spotty across the country, within 10 years, then it was just, there were no, there was no obvious optic that would show that there was discrimination at that point, because there were roughly as many black players in major college football, let's say in 1978, 79, than there are now. So that was at the point that I started watching college football. So I'm watching college football just because I want to watch football, not thinking about any of the ramifications or the not in any way for a long time it hitting me in regards to how many white players are out there, how many black players. I didn't care. So I started watching college football, not having that knowledge initially until I started doing some reading and watching documentaries that just a few years prior to, well, college football didn't look like that. So thank you for the contribution, Herschel. Reliving the 2013 Big Ten championship game, and yeah, there's an interesting story during the hours leading up to the Ohio State-Alabama playoff game in 14, in which the Big Ten had been down both realistically, factually on the field, but also in terms of perception. It was blown out of proportion. The Big Ten was down for a period of time, but not to the extent of the national media groupthink. You know, a narrative starts and then it gets blown up, and then people are repeating the narrative that have absolutely no idea what they're talking about. This happens all the time with all sorts of stuff, and we'll keep it in sports, but this happens all the time where, like, 3 people start a narrative and they've got enough influence that it affects like the other 400 media people that just talk about it, and they didn't do their own research or even give it any thought that, is this even true? And when it comes to the Big Ten's decline, there was truth to it, but it was overblown. And I could prove it factually on the field with results. To finish my point before I take the call, the 14 postseason, there's an interesting, hang on just a second. The 14 postseason with Ohio State is interesting because Urban Meyer pointed to a number of Big Ten efforts in bowl play that day to say, look at them, look at them. And one in particular was Wisconsin and Melvin Gordon beating Auburn that took Alabama to the wire in that game in 14, and saying, look, Look at what Wisconsin's doing to Auburn. We just beat them 59-0. We can beat Alabama. We will beat them. It's an interesting story when told by others that were there. Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football. Who's on the line? Hello? Hello? Okay. I don't know what happened there, but if you legitimately want to talk college football, call us back. Okay. Beat down 56-27, referencing Ohio State and Michigan, and obviously the dominance there. 15 out of 16 years, and the 1 year that Ohio State lost almost, in some respects, can't be counted because of the interim coach, but it counts. Hang on just a second, sir.
All right, my bad.
No problem here. Beat down 56-27. Mark, think Michigan will ever beat Ohio State ever again? I guarantee that they will. That's all I'm going to say. Obviously, they will. I don't know if it's going to be tomorrow or next year or 50 years from now, but yes, Michigan is going to win a game in the series. All right, who's on the line?
All right, hello?
Yes.
So, talking about like Ohio, right?
Yes, sir.
All right, well, you want to know what I think?
I got a bad feeling about that call. Got a bad feeling about that one. All right. And that's certainly an area we will address at some point, and maybe this is some knucklehead calling back. We shall see.
The call will start at the beep.
Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football. Who's on the line?
Hello?
Hello.
Hey, you hung up on me, I think. We got disconnected, but all I wanted to say was, I think you're a fucking...
You know, it amazes me how many people are that starved for entertainment or to feel good about themselves or have that low self-esteem. And it's unfortunate. I feel bad. I truly do. I don't feel bad for myself for getting cussed out. I could care less. That doesn't affect me. I feel truly bad for people that sit on the internet at 1 o'clock in the morning and have to try to be idiots. Or they don't have to try. Obviously, they're just that in and of themselves. And there's obviously issues behind that. There are issues behind that. All right. Unfortunately, we're in a situation where we probably shouldn't take any more calls. Unless somebody legitimately wants to call and says, Mark, I'm going to call you, and I know that it's a reputable caller. And this, again, as we build this out, is something that needs to be addressed. First, the call-in system. I've done this from time to time. You know, I bought some equipment, a mixer, and all sorts of stuff, and I can't get it to work correctly. And then I need to get the software application to take the calls the right way. But for an individual to call up one time and let me see here. Okay, must be Byrek. I'm going to bank on it being Byrek.
The call will start at the beep.
Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football. He can't even respond quick enough to be effective. So anyway, can I block him? No. Unfortunately, everybody's got the same phone number. So here's the deal, Jeff. Everybody that calls in doesn't see my real phone number. That's not my real phone number, 860-325-3687. That is not my real phone number. I also cannot see your phone number. So that's another safety buffer there. I can't see your phone number. So everybody just sees 860-325-3687. So I don't know who to block. So that's what happens. So yeah, with the phone system, I am not Mr. Technician, unfortunately. We need technical technician in here because that's not my deal. So this is where this sort of thing hurts me. And Let's see. I'm one more try, and it better be legit, or we're not taking any more calls. We just can't. Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football. Hey, Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football. Who's on the line? So the moron again calls in, and it takes him like 10 seconds to respond, and then he starts screaming something that's just I can't make it out. So that must be our last call of the night, unfortunately, because I've taken, what is this, like 7 consecutive calls from this moron. So again, I just I know that this is a college football discussion and not for this, but I just feel bad for individuals like that. I don't know what has to be going on in somebody's life, and I've gone through some really bad things recently, but I'm very blessed, very blessed. Had a nice discussion with David Knight last night, and I appreciate his encouragement and support. But some personal problems, some professional problems that some of you know about. But to be that person, or to be the parents of that person who produced and then developed that individual, yeah, probably can't take any more calls. So I'm sorry for anybody out there that legitimately wants to call. I'm going to run through the. Let's see. What should I message him back? I think I'll ask that he calls in later. Yeah, call me at 3 o'clock in the morning. So appreciate all of you. Jeff says it all right there. Please hit the like button. Contribute in any way that you can. So I know for different people that means different things. So I don't want you to contribute, or I don't want you to support me unless you believe in what we're doing here, which is just talking college football and trying to be good people in doing so. So that's what we believe in, is having a good time talking college football, building relationships with the engagement here. And I feel good when sometimes I get a comment from one of you that in addition to connecting with me and listening to the content and doing all those good things, that you've picked up some social media friends that you now interact with because you connected here on the show. We have all sorts of things going on, and they are mostly good things here on Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football. I am working on a schedule, and believe me, when I make out a schedule, and this includes creating and producing and posting an audio podcast every morning, that I sometimes think, okay, Mark, because I think I can do everything, and I think I can do like 12 live streams a day and produce like 18 previews and do all this other stuff, in addition to doing the marketing, branding, and all the other things I should be doing on Facebook and all these other places. I should be all over the place. And he just won't give up, will he? So I tend to overextend myself. That's one of my many flaws, personality flaws, is I overextend myself. So I built out this schedule, and then I looked at it and I thought, Mark, between a personal life and actually trying to build a business. So believe me, in addition to growing all this content and producing all this content, I have to put more time into the business side of this. You're right, Matthew. Building the business side of this. And so even when you guys don't see me on here, I got to be working all the time. We got a request from a potential sponsor to do a Nebraska live stream. So I'm trying to make that happen, but I'm going to need some guests. So I can talk Nebraska football. You kidding me? I could do that. I could get on here and talk Nebraska football, but that would make me responsible for watching the game every week, every play, and taking notes and really educating myself to the point that I would need to deliver a quality Nebraska live stream by myself. DeQuandre, thank you so much. Yeah, hit the like button. Smash that like button. YouTube loves that. For whatever reason, I can't explain the algorithm. All I know is YouTube wants likes. So if I produce a video with 5,000 views, and it's got 100 likes, and then I produce another video with 5,000 views, and 1,000 likes. For some reason, then YouTube says, people like that, let's push it out there. Let's get it out there in the traffic. And we want to push it out there. So, yeah, Matthew's saying more Nebraska football. So I'm doing my best to do that. Matthew as well, go Big Red. So we're working on a Nebraska live stream. I would like to do a Michigan live stream as well. I would like to do a zillion live streams and have channels working all over the place. Byrick, thank you so much. What college football experience do you wish to see most? I want to go to the Rose Bowl. That's the first one that came to mind. That I don't want to stay on that one necessarily if I come up with a better one, but I do want to go to a Rose Bowl. I want to go to the Rose Bowl. I covered the SEC for 6 years, so I went to a lot of big games in the SEC. Stood on the sideline for Peyton Manning's first touchdown pass in his college career. I was standing right in the end zone, right in front of the receiver. Peyton Manning's first touchdown pass at Tennessee. That comes to mind. A lot of SEC championship games, bowl games, that sort of thing. So I've been to some of the stadiums in the SEC. Drunk Steve days. So going to the Rose Bowl and seeing a Rose Bowl, even if it's not a playoff game, national championship game, actually I would want it to be a traditional like Ohio State USC game. All right. NBA fan, if I knew it was you, I would let you call in. Absolutely, I would take some more calls, but it's always this knucklehead calling. So it's been like 7 straight, so I can't do that anymore. What's a good night of sleep for you, Mark? 2 to 3 hours. It seems like that, doesn't it? So I came up with this idea the other day, and I ran it by my son and daughter because they're the social media experts in the household, and my daughter's a marketing major, PR as well. And I thought, so in addition to doing all the normal stuff that we do here, analyzing college football, of course, I'd like it to be a little bit more interactive, a little bit more fun, put some stuff out there that would make you guys chuckle a little bit more. And so I thought about doing, I was watching a man on the street kind of YouTube video about something stupid. And they were getting funny responses from people or people that didn't know what they were talking about. And I thought I should go out man on the street and ask people, do you know who the voice of college football is? And of course, they're not going to know. And maybe I have a t-shirt on that says the voice of college football. I don't know. Doing stuff like that would be fun. Absolutely. Greg, Nebraska fan here as well. We are pretty fanatical. I'm on Huskers 247. Have you reached out to anyone there? Greg, so we've got Greg Peterson, who has joined me in the past. He's on Rivals. And then I basically just went through 247's list of Nebraska writers and Rivals and a few others. And I just blanketed everyone and just, boom, tweets. The one guy that got back to me is Steven. Can't think of his last name. He seemed like a pretty top-notch writer. Steven somebody. Can't think of his last name. So I reached out to everyone there. Thank you, Greg, for that. And you know who's more effective at reaching out to these guys than I am? Even though I got to say that, well, I'm not going to tell that story. It's a former employer story that really pissed me off. But anyway, Tommy Frazier and Eric Crouch. I'll do that. So most people are very accommodating, even when I had 100 subs or 200 subs, let alone 21,000. And 21,000 is nothing great. But where if you reach out to people on social media, they typically are very nice about saying, sure, I'll do it. Or they ignore you. But what really pushes them over is if you guys go out there as viewers and as fans and say, hey, so-and-so, you should be on the Mark Rogers TV show. Voice of college football. I'm trying to really push that voice of college football. So if you guys go out there and think about the people that you would like to see on here, and you tweet them, you contact them on Facebook, that's more effective. David, Mark, you should have RJ Young on. He covers Oklahoma and college football in general. He is really knowledgeable. Okay. I've contacted him probably 5 times because people like you, David, have asked me to. And I didn't know who he was at first, but I've reached out to him. And he gets back to me initially, and then it just kind of breaks down from there. So it may be a deal where I say, RJ, would love to have you on my show. And he says, absolutely. And then I say, what's a good time for you this week? Or can you make it Monday? And then I don't hear anything, and then it breaks down. I have in the past wasted more time reaching out to people, just sending email after email after email after email. For any of you, and I doubt that any of you that are on the live chat right now were back with me back in the days that I'm thinking of, way back when. And I actually heard a YouTuber, college football YouTuber, say recently that they were the first doing prediction videos back in like 2015 on YouTube. And I'm like, huh? I was doing college football predictions on, and I'm not saying I was the first. I'm just saying that I heard somebody say that they were the first in 2015 doing college football predictions on YouTube. And I'm like, I was doing them in 2010. Anyway, I lost my train of thought. What was I talking about? Shoot, totally lost it. So yeah, RJ Young, I've reached out to him. No, whoa, this is where I was headed. So I used to have coaches on here. I've had on Sonny Dykes, Gary Anderson, a lot of other ones. So I got a call coming in, and I'm not going to take the call. So anyway, so I used to have college football coaches come on here, and I had a lot of Group of 5 guys, Air Force, Tulsa, that level. And then we actually went to the Cal level and Oregon State and a couple Power 5s. And then I got a good response from a number of Power 5s. But you couldn't believe, just to get a college football coach on here, it would take hours and hours and hours of communication with the sports information department in the university and to get it. And then the college football coach would come on here, and I would get, 150 views. And it was like, okay. And I would send out a form letter that I would change the name and the contact information, and I'd have to look up all the contact information for every sports information department in the country, and I would spend hours and hours to get one college football coach on for a 15-minute chat, and it wouldn't get that many views. So the hot seat looks like Gus Malzahn right now, don't you think? Having lost to South Carolina, should have lost to Arkansas. They could be 1-3 right now, and they haven't played the toughest part of their schedule. Gus Malzahn. Yeah, you know what? I got to admit, and now since the Big Ten and Ohio State are hitting the field tomorrow, I did a poor job with my predictions typically, but there was just not the typical college football season this time around. Because usually I'll sit here the night before, we'll do a live stream forever, 3 hours, and I'll do my predictions and preview all the teams, and we'll do the full deal on like Wednesday night before the Thursday kickoff. And I'll lay out my college football predictions and all my conference predictions. But this year was so scattered that I kind of just left it out there. And so I did officially predict Ohio State, Clemson, Alabama, Texas. It's hard to say. Texas to be in the college football playoff. But I did not predict a national champion. So let me do it right now. Ohio State fans, brace yourselves. If you have give me any credibility in making a national championship prediction, which I've been really close on the playoff teams ever since it started. One year I picked them all. 2016, I got them all right. Alabama 34, Ohio State 31. There, it's on record. Yes, Matthew, I was doing predictions back in 2010. I do predictions all the time. I do predictions every week. They're on Patreon. So we have to move some people to Patreon. I would love to have 1,000 people on Patreon. That's the goal. I got 55 to 1,000. That's the goal over on Patreon. So that's where we release our predictions. The SEC stream was a great piece of work, Mark. Thank you so much for that. About 5 years ago, Wednesday night was the night where we would go full throttle. I would sit here for like 7 hours. And we didn't have that many subs then. But I would sit here and we would do Pac-12 Live. We called it Pac-12 Breakdown. Pac-12 Breakdown, SEC Breakdown, Big 12 Breakdown, ACC Breakdown. I did 4 consecutive shows, and they all lasted almost 90 minutes. So I'd sit here for 7 hours. And we never did a Big 10 breakdown. Couldn't get enough Big 10 contributors. And so I just kind of harkened back to that to start this SEC Live. So DeQuandre, I appreciate that. Let people know that we're here every Wednesday night talking SEC football live at 8 o'clock Eastern time. NBA fan, we had a pretty in-depth discussion on the Ohio State Live show this past Wednesday. So I'm not going to go back through that. And then also our conversation with Pat Murphy from Bucknuts, the Ohio State-Nebraska preview. I had 2 separate running back discussions with those guys. Keep in mind, Ohio State and Miami fans, go to those channels as well and subscribe there, and you get a more uniform look at those teams. So it's just repurposed content. Some of it's unique content, but some of it's repurposed. So, for example, the Ohio State live stream that we do here with Steve and Kevin and Tony, I edit those segments down into their particular topics, like running back, Ohio State running back preview, put that on the Ohio State channel that hopefully YouTube is going to monetize here very soon. They're 6 weeks behind at monetizing. I was on the phone with tech support tonight to get that taken care of. Sonny, sorry if you've already done this, new follower, but you really should do a video of your average day and give us a behind-the-scenes glimpse. Thank you, Sonny. Appreciate that. I have not done that. Sonny, I've been in the TV business for 29 years, mostly network television for the last 19, with a particular brand that you would be familiar with. So I've been there as a production operations manager for 19 years. So I just started doing this full time. I just handed in my resignation letter like 2 weeks ago. So I don't have a typical day yet. I wake up every morning and I'm like, I've got this and this, and I wrote all these notes, and I got to get to that and this, and then I got all sorts of to-do lists and all sorts of big plans and visions that I need to execute. And I think our crazy drunk's calling again. So, Sonny, I appreciate that. But actually, that type of insider information we are sharing on Patreon as well. But that's a great idea. So thank you for that. And never apologize for a question, please. All right. There you go. Yes. 19 years at ESPN. to the point where I had to call today about my benefits package just to get that transferred and work on some things and make sure things didn't fall through the cracks. And I was on the phone with Disney, and if you're not familiar, Disney owns ESPN, and they assumed that I was laid off. They said, "We're sorry about your situation and being laid off," and I said, "I didn't get laid off. I feel bad for those people as well." I said, I resigned, and they were like kind of stunned, like, somebody actually resigns from here? Yeah, I resigned. I felt as though it was a bit forced, but I was not giving this up. So, yes. David, you are so right. Oh, my word, you're right. Oh, my goodness. I need a salesperson. For all the operational stuff I would like to improve on, the set, I would love to get a much better set. That would be awesome. I've got so many visions in my head about what a really nice looking set would be. And, you know, I'm using my webcam right now because my previous camera stopped working. I took it on a trip. I came back. It wasn't working. So many things I'd love to do. But for as much as I would need technical and operational support and marketing and social media and all that, a salesperson. I'm not a salesman. Lazarus lives. You make me laugh. But good things happen. I got to tell you, good things happen. Just keep grinding. And man, I've had an awful 2 days in my personal life. And then about an awful 6 to 8 weeks in my professional life. So you guys have been amazing to keep me going. Thank you for that. So, Bo, thank you so much for the contribution. Yeah, so this is really easy for everybody. My email address, MarkRogersTV@gmail. MarkRogersTV@gmail. That's all you need to know. So maybe I should post that, but there's so much. There's so much I've posted in the description section that MarkRogersTV@gmail. That's it. Let me pull that up. Bo, thank you so much. I appreciate that. There you go. For everyone, you can write me anytime. I will get back to you. Sometimes people will write things in the comments section, and I'll be like, that's really should be, I don't mind answering that, but that shouldn't just be out there for everyone. Please just write me at MarkRogersTV@gmail. So thank you, Bo. That's where you can find me. Yes, better days are ahead for all of us. Yeah. I can only imagine if we sat here and we went through everybody's life and everything that everyone's gone through, oh my goodness, people would tell stories that would blow me away. All of us, all of us. If you live long enough, you go through personal trials, physical issues with loved ones, you go through financial difficulties, you go through all sorts of crises. Absolutely. Absolutely. Man, I appreciate everyone out there. You guys are amazing. It's 1:17 Eastern, and I got to make predictions. And I got to make predictions that are actually good because I keep touting my record, 40-29 against the spread. It's not remarkable, but it's good for making them as quickly as I do. So beat down 56-27. You know, every time I say this, I kind of cringe a bit because I don't like the idea of this. I would love to get on here and everything be free, and I would make a ton of money, and you guys would love it, and everything would just fall into place. But the way this works as a single one-person operation entrepreneur is I've got to create revenue streams and I've got to make them viable. So the Patreon thing has to happen and it has to be one piece of that. So my predictions are over on Patreon. Yes. So, oh my goodness, I could take off on this. So my last two significant others, I would certainly vouch for they're amazing women in many ways. One of them, I almost got to the point where I was like, would you please come on? You would help viewership so much. Please come on and you can read viewer mail and I'll respond. You read the viewer comments and I'll respond. Oh man, David, come on. So here's the deal on Patreon. I give my predictions, but I don't want you guys wasting your money on my predictions. That's why I get Steve Merrill on there from Pro Sports Info, the real handicapper odds maker guy, and he gives a free pick each week that is like ironclad. There's a prediction from Lazarus. A lot of people like Pitt as a 9-point underdog, so go with that. A lot of people like Iowa. Now there's no Rondell Moore or Jeff Brom. I believe the Hawkeyes are a 3.5-point favorite, though, on the road. Oh, yeah, Michael. There you go. Can't wait for the first top 25 that actually makes sense. Okay, so we produced one last week, Michael. Check that one out. And somebody asked me earlier that's not necessarily in the know here with the top 25 that actually makes sense, that asked me, what's that going to do to Wisconsin? They were number 14 going into this game. What are they going to do now? Well, with all the Big Ten hitting the field this week, then the top 25 becomes difficult for a couple of reasons, because I did not include anybody that was not playing football. So now suddenly the Big Ten is going to have one game under its belt for me to evaluate. So Ohio State fans, I'm just warning you, the ranking in the top 25 that actually makes sense is not going to be to the ranking that you would assume. Based on the national rankings, the rankings that don't make sense, or based on how good the team is. So my rankings aren't necessarily in collaboration and matching how good the teams are. It's a resume ranking. So Ohio State, if they go out and they beat Nebraska by 25 points, that's only going to give them so much. Just beware. The rankings are going to look, well, they look unusual every week until things play out. Yeah, there you go, Michael. If Purdue gets a win over Iowa at home, that's a pretty nice win. Now, there have to be some assumptions. Some assumptions have to be made. Purdue plays Iowa. It's the first game of the season. We think Iowa's this, and we think Purdue's that, and there have to be assumptions made. And then, fortunately, as they play games, less assumptions have to be made. All right, everyone. I appreciate it. It's been a good time. Great having everyone here on the live stream. We broke 100. We've got up to about 107. College football tomorrow starts at noon Eastern time. I will be live after the noon Eastern time games. And for some reason, there's just way too many good noon Eastern time games. That's like the best window. It used to be the 3:30 window. Now it's the noon window. Ohio State, Nebraska, Auburn, Ole Miss, TCU, Oklahoma. I'm missing some good ones. So we got those games at noon. Then we'll be live here. And then I'm going to work on instant analysis of all those games, and you'll see those videos coming out. And then after Michigan, Minnesota in the primetime window, we'll be back here live with your call-ins and hopefully no crazy ones. Right here at Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football. And thank you, everyone who contributed in any way, but in particular, the super chat contributions from Byrick a couple times, Chuck C, Bo, and I hope I didn't miss anybody else. I will see all of you after the noon games, 3 o'clock Eastern. You'll see the notification if you hit the bell. See you tomorrow. Enjoy the games. Let's get these last predictions up here. Talk is Pitt, 28-21. Like it. Michael. We'll see ya. Xander, thank you so much. Go Blue, Matt. Gotcha. Get the who?